All right, and we are live. Welcome everybody. Phil Nagy on sports, as always, joined by Kit on the left coast, repping his college today with the Air Force football shirt on there today.
Yes, sir.
I'm wearing a sweater because I went out in public today. So pretty exciting stuff. All right. So it was kind of an odd Sunday just sitting around watching my fantasy teams do pretty decently without any stress. Watching some crazy football games. Like, who knew the Saints would lose to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles? But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We are here to talk about Browns Ravens. Absolutely huge game. So without further ado, Kit, let's go ahead and get to the offensive keys of this game.
All righty. So on the offensive side here, we need to establish the run game, and we need to early and often on the run game. Really need to get both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going. That's going to be really important for us in this one. I think that's a place that we can do well, but we really have to make sure that we are being faithful to that and keep coming back to those runs, because they're gonna be a big part of setting up the offense for us here. Second piece is going to be exploiting the linebackers. So Patrick Queen, I know there was a lot of draft buzz that a lot of folks here wanted, or in Cleveland wanted Patrick Queen, but he has not been good. He's been the lowest PFF graded linebacker in the league. And the two big things where he struggles with are his coverage grades and his missed tackles. He's got some huge number of missed tackles this season, and a very low coverage grade, which means he has not been very good for them, and we can definitely exploit that both in the run game and in the pass game. So over the middle, and in the rush game, we can definitely take advantage of some weaknesses there at the linebacker position. Um, Keeping Baker clean, so that's going to be a huge part. They they like to blitz a lot. They like to bring pressure. We really need to make sure that that was something that we were not very successful at doing the first time around. So we really need to keep him clean in the pocket, because that's where we see Baker really have success, is when he has the chance to feel comfortable in the pocket and get the balls out to throw some darts down the field. And then the last piece is making sure that we've got a balanced game plan here. Both the rushing attack, like we talked about, the first key, really establishing that earlier, but then pulling out the play action and getting some throwing game going, getting Baker comfortable so that we can get him clicking with his receivers in this game.
Yeah, for sure. If anything, I think we can trust Stefanski to have a good balanced game plan for sure. So, sorry, I didn't mean to seem distant. Everybody just started commenting, so we got 4 or 5 people already commenting on the feed. So let's go ahead and jump quickly to the defensive keys for victory.
So on the defensive side here, we really have to be good about gap discipline and run fits in this game. That's going to be super important for us. So we saw this in the last game against the Titans, where we brought up five D linemen into the 5D line set, which really helps with the run fit game, because you have less opportunity for the double team blocks up front. And also makes your defensive line wider, right? So it's harder to go around and get to the edges. This team likes to go to the outside. That's where they've had more of their success. Although last year they were much better up the middle, where we tend to be weak in run defense, and they haven't been very good about that this year. So I'd expect to see more of those again in this game. I'd expect to see more of the 5 D linemen up in those 5 D line sets. And especially on rush downs. And then we really need to, which kind of leads into the next key, being that we've got to contain Lamar. That's going to be super important for us. If we need to bring out somebody out there to spy just on Lamar, then that's what we need to do, making sure that we're not letting him get outside of OV and Miles ideally, but then bringing in that contain and keeping him from getting loose, because he is very dangerous in space, as we have seen. And then we've got to get our D line going. We've got to. The next key here is collapsing the pocket and making sure that our D line is feeding. We've got to get a lot of pressure, making him uncomfortable in there. And if we can do that, that will really set us up for success. Because the last, or one of the next key really is to force Lamar to beat you with his arm. He this year in particular, he has really struggled with throwing the ball. I think that's something that we and his wide receivers really just have not been kind of what they were billed to be. Especially Marquise Brown has really not been quite the stud everybody thought he was going to be this season. Lamar's kind of back to struggling. He's very good to tight ends over the middle, but on the outside throws and some of the longer deep throws, he's not nearly as accurate as he might like to be. So we can definitely take advantage of that. And then the last piece of this on the defensive side, I think we need to be very judicious with when and how we are blitzing. Ideally, 4 to 5 guys in the rush and no more, and then bringing guys back into coverage will be much more beneficial to us. I'm not saying don't blitz. I'm just saying let's not go too crazy here. We're not especially a great blitzing team. We haven't been overly productive with the blitz this year. So let's not go blitz crazy suddenly and just try to bring in tons of pressure at Lamar and see if we can, because that may work for us sometimes, but there are going to be other times where he's going to get the ball out quickly and we're going to be in a lot of trouble because they do have some pretty good playmakers.
For sure. All of those things would be lovely to see to stop this Ratbird team. All right, overall keys for success. Or do you have a special teams one?
Again? I did, yeah. I added in some
okay.
special teams again. I figured since we brought it in last time, I better bring it again. So.
I absolutely don't want to poo-poo pre-first parade here. So
well, and I think this is in a very important special teams game as well, just because of who their head coach is. Harbaugh is, he came from being a special teams coordinator. He's a special teams guy. That's what, that's how he got to become a head coach. And so those kind of guys tend to have really good special teams units. So a couple keys that I added in here for special teams is, number one, be the better special teams unit. We have to go out there and outperform in all of those different phases of special teams and make sure that we are the better unit out there. Okay. And then from last week, one thing we really need to see is no special teams penalties. We saw, I believe, 2 of them on in the last game, and those are killers. I mean, you get a special teams penalty, and that could be the difference of 50 yards of field position. So no special teams penalties in this game is going to be a big key for us as well.
Gotcha. All right. Don't want to jump the gun too far. How about overall keys to the game?
Okay. So overall, we've got I've got win the turnover margin. That's always going to be an important thing to do. But this is the opportunity that we have. They have a very good defense that, ball hawking defense that can take the ball away. Baker's been playing quite a bit better though. So if we can be careful on our side of, not turning the ball over, but then on the defense, if we can continue, because we've also been very good at taking the ball away. We're currently +7 on the season, which, is I think good for number 4th or 5th in the NFL right now. Yeah. So very, very good on our turnover margin right now. We need to keep that up, and we're going up against a pretty good team in that area as well. So if we can continue to produce there, that'll be big for us. Second key is to execute. So the big piece of this was we've got to pull back. 13 penalties from the Titans game, way too many. We need to pull back on that. I'm going to look for 8 or fewer in this game to make sure that we are, better execution. If we can get kind of under that 8 realm or so of penalties, that should bode a lot better for us on the execution in this game.
For sure. And
then the last piece I'm going to talk about here is we have to have truly complementary football in this game. The Ravens are a tough team. We all know that. They are dangerous, even though they have spiraled of late. They've gotten a lot of their pieces back, a lot of really good players they have on their team. Calais Campbell's come back, and he's a big dude in the center there that can, we saw that in the first game where he was getting his mitts up and knocking down passes left and right in throw lane. So there's a lot of pieces that have come back for them. So they're still very dangerous. We can't overlook them by any means. We're definitely going to have to play some complementary football and get some energy going to win this one.
Okay. We will take it. Sorry, complementary football. Sorry, everybody's asking questions on the chat, which I appreciate. It's great trying to listen to you and write down game notes and respond to the chat. So, okay, awesome. Well, we got a couple of questions. Speaking of the chat, Demarion, welcome. We want to know, he wants to know, you think Lamar or Baker more passing yards tomorrow?
I think Baker definitely takes more passing yardage tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. Short and simple.
Yeah.
Keith is on. Keith wants to know what your thoughts are about maybe having an extra safety in instead of a linebacker to help contain Lamar.
So a couple things I would say about that. Now, first of all, we've actually had really good linebacker play this year. Especially in the run fits to the outside. Taki's been great at that. We've seen Phillips has been successful in that area. Wilson's done a good job there as well. So we've got a pretty solid and deep linebacker core. I'm okay with at times having an extra safety out there rather than a linebacker. The biggest thing there though is that our linebacker depth right now is actually better than our safety depth. Those guys theoretically are a little bit faster, but that's not necessarily going to make the difference with Lamar Jackson. You really just need, sound fundamentals, good angles, and then form tackling. You don't want to be, suspect in the tackling. And if we're bringing out guys that, who knows what Tedrick Thompson is going to be, right?
Right.
If he's out there, he is very successful for us, and he's great in that role. I don't know. But I haven't seen him on the field. I don't know what that product looks like, so I can't really speak to it. But I definitely know that I trust the linebackers, and they've done a great job for us, even though that was a question mark coming into the season.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm with you. Keith wants to know your thoughts about more press man rather than that soft zone that gives up the middle easily.
Right. So in this game, I think press man is something that we can afford to do, although I'm a little bit wary, especially without having Denzel Ward. He is a big part of that. Like I kind of talked about in one of the previous videos, missing Denzel Ward for our defensive secondary is really like two starters being out, because now we're taking Kevin Johnson out of that nickel role where he normally starts, put him on the outside. So now you're putting a backup in the outside corner and on the nickel corner. So it's not an ideal situation where, so yes, you can play press man, but you need to be careful with that, especially without having Denzel Ward and some of your best lockdown guys out there in their primary roles.
For sure, especially because Marquise Brown is a burner and Ward was definitely our fastest DB for sure.
For sure.
How many sacks do you anticipate for the Browns?
Actually, this is a good opportunity for us to get sacks, especially because they are thin on the offensive line. Back in March, Yanda retired, and then Stanley tore his ACL earlier in the season, I think early November. So having those two dudes out is, they actually have given up quite a bit of pressure. And I see that as an area where we really could do very well. So I'm going to say we probably could very well see somewhere around 4 sacks in this one.
Yeah, nice to see Miles have a couple on a good national stage.
For sure.
Thrusting him back to the top of everybody's Defensive Player of the Year conversations. Not that we ever stopped, but
right.
The national rhetoric is still in love with Aaron Donald, which is fine because he's a good player. I get it for sure. Karen wants to know your thoughts on the cutting of Dontrell Hilliard.
Good question. So I like Dontrell Hilliard. Phil and I talked a little bit about that earlier today, Karen. It's an interesting move. Not something I expected to see. He's a very good player. He's very successful for us. But what that tells me is a couple of things. First of all, it means that they are very happy with what Dearness Johnson is doing for them, which is good. I mean, Dearness Johnson has been great in the return game. When we saw him against Dallas, he really was successful in that game as well. Now, that was Dallas. Dallas is a terrible rush defense. But on the other hand, Dearness did do some pretty nice things in that game, and as well as a couple other places and spots in the season where he's had to come in. As far as the other piece of what I take out of that is that means they really like the guys they have on their practice squad, because we know they liked Hilliard. Right. He stuck around for a long time for good reason, because he's been a good back for them. He's a versatile guy that can kickoff return, punt return, can play some running back, and has good hands, good out of the backfield. So he's somebody that they liked, obviously. However, the fact that they are willing to let him go means that they really like the guys they have on their practice squad right now. Now, the other thing I will say about that is I would not be surprised to see Hilliard still show up back in the practice squad later on.
Sure. Yeah, I thought that too. If he gets through waivers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Just a couple other things here. Demarion asking, are you getting scared that we haven't heard about Nick Chubb's extension yet?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Okay.
No, I think there's Nick Chubb is far too. He is the definition of what this team wants to do. He works the way they want him to work. I mean, the whole smart and accountable mantra that they went, that they talked about from the beginning, really, with this group. That he is the embodiment of that. He works incredibly hard, is very much a team first player. I mean, we've seen examples of that left and right. And he is exactly what you want to have, not to mention the fact that, I know everybody talks about how analytics mindsets don't want the running back because, you can get younger, so on and so forth, but you're not going to pass up a guy like Nick Chubb that is just that successful and brings just an X factor ability to your team that you just cannot replace.
Sure. Yeah, I think we definitely will have time to talk about that in the offseason as well. I think he's also a true pros pro, and so he probably, if I could get in his head, he's probably like, you know what, he probably told his agent, don't even worry about it. Like, we're not even going to have this conversation until the season's over. Like, I just want to focus on ball.
Yep.
Which seems to fit his personality of we before me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't see Ingerberry getting him out of town, and I also can't see him being the kind of guy like Zeke, like, I'm holding out unless I get my 100 million or whatever. So
no way.
I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's very happy in Cleveland. I think Cleveland really fits his personality. He fits, very well with this team. I think it's a perfect match, and I think that not only will that deal get done, but that's not something you should worry about.
For sure. All right. Well, again, we can't figure out what the heck is wrong with Madden right now. The sim,
unfortunately,
the sim was 30-10, just absolutely embarrassing. Once again, what is our official score prediction for tomorrow night, Monday night?
So I think this is going to be a tightly contested game. I think it's going to be a bit more of a defensive struggle maybe than some of our other games, but I'm going to call this one for the Browns because I really do think the Browns have what it takes to win this one, and they have all some of the key matchups advantages that they're going to need to take this game. So I'm calling it for the Browns 24-20.
24-20. All right. You heard it here. That would be awesome, man. 10-3. And then if things continue right now, Buffalo is up 9 on the Squealers here in Sunday Night Football. I got it over here as well. So, yeah, man, I can't even imagine if week 17 somehow ends up being for the division. I don't even know what I'm going to do. That would be
amazing.
Incredible. It would be.
And realistically,
sure.
I see a way we can win that game. They've been, they have not looked great of late. In fact, they haven't been looking great in this Bills game. So, we'll see. I think the Colts have come on strong, so they could very well win. If we win out, we go into that game with the same record, that could be an electric battle for the AFC North, and I like our chances.
Awesome.
I like our chances of coming out on top at home.
Yes. That would be awesome. Sorry, still and then extend Joe. Sorry. More questions coming in the chat that I can deal with. All right. Well, it's been awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the questions. Mark, Marion, Keith, Karen, a lot of the regulars on. Really appreciate that. Super excited to watch the game tomorrow night. And then obviously we will, bring you the post-game analysis, probably not until Tuesday because it'll be way, way, way past my bedtime. Kid will just be getting going, but us East Coasters, I mean, heck, DeWine had to make like a special dispensation to our curfew rules that said, except for the football game, you have to be back home and things have to close down. So in any event, we'll bring you that on Tuesday. So it's been lots of fun as always. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to those keys, seeing how they play out on the field, and we have an opportunity to be talking about a 10-3 football game here in about 48 hours. So yeah, go Browns for sure. But anyway, Phil Nagy, Kit Nagy, Nagy on Sports. Let's get out of here the way we always do.
Go